Night here. I have a new build for you guys. I've been messing around with Gunlance and Longsword a lot recently, and I wanted to mix it up a bit and try out a new build utilizing Evade Extender. I am running Guardian Lawful Boars. There's a couple of options in terms of Gunlances. I believe the top three are Lawful Boars, the Guardian variant, White Cannon, and then Biotrail Femidor, depending on what you want. I'm running the standard loadout for Gunlances, Artillery, Magazine, and Iron Wall. When you do your shell reload, it's a guard point, and if you have a higher guard level, it'll stop you from being interrupted when you're doing that, depending on what attack's coming at you. With Magazine, you have a couple of options. I picked Handicraft, but honestly it's flex. You could run Iron Wall and then swap out the rank 1 for something else. You could run Attack for a little bit more damage. You could run Handicraft for a little bit sharpness. There's no point in going with crit on Gunlance because I think a good 2/3 of the damage output can't crit. There's very little deviation depending on where you're aiming at. Ideally you aim for the head because it'll break it, and then it'll make the head weaker so other people are hitting it. It'll help them out a lot. But really you can fire anywhere with Gunlance, and as long as you're just landing your shots, it's fine. If you're running a normal Gunlance, running load shells on a normal Gunlance is a bad idea because it has 6 shots in the magazine. That's more than enough. There's no point in increasing your reload speed. And more often than not, when you're using a normal Gunlance, you care more about shell stepping and repositioning. If you're fighting a fast monster, which is why you would use that, compared to Wide or Long. Wide or Long is better for damage, at the cost of it having smaller capacities for their magazine. Wide has 2, Long has 3, so you would want to run load shells on it, get the extra shot and the faster reload to give you more damage. And for Longsword, I'm running Grave Cleaver. Sometimes I end up running Guardian Righteous Lancelot. As long as it has a high base attack, you can use it. There's a couple options. You have Grave Cleaver, you have Kalundra the Waves, Righteous Lancelot, and you have Fate Cleaver. Where is that? You can run the Dosha version of it rather than the Guardian Dosha version. Has less negative affinity, it's punishing draw, and has a high base attack as well, and has a decent amount of white sharpness if you unlock it. The goal of the playstyle with it is to get to red, expand your attacks as much as possible, and then once you're almost out of white sharpness, go into Helm Splitter and Spirit Release Slash to deal as much damage as possible. Grave Cleaver has Power Prolonger on it. That could help with your red gauge economy. It depends on how you want to play. Righteous Lancelot has Focus 2, which helps with getting to red faster, but does increase the duration that you stay in red. So this is probably a better choice, but I like the look of Grave Cleaver a lot better. Kalunda also has Power Prolonger and water damage, so if you're fighting a monster weak to water, you can use this to great effectiveness. As long as it has high base attack, it's fine. You could opt for a status weapon, but it'll deal a lot less damage compared to these higher base attack ones. It's up to you, really. This build is really flexible, but I prefer doing as much damage as possible. The goal of this build is to proc Agitator, Adrenaline Rush, and Burst, right? It's mostly just a raw focus build, not really focused on crits or hitting specific zones unless you're going after that or you're trying to break a specific part. As long as you're getting yellow numbers, it's fine, but ideally you go for a weak spot. This is more new player friendly than you would think, because Evade Extender and Evade Window give you a lot more breathing room whenever you're dodging attacks, whether you're foresighting it or you're stepping out of the way with Gunlance, or you're back stepping out of the way. So it's a lot more new player friendly than you would think, because you aren't relying on critting or optimal placement. Ideally you are hitting the correct spots, but there's a lot of breathing room with this type of build. For the armor, I'm running Numinous Head, Chest, and Waist, Ray Sand Braces, and Mistizune Greaves. Mistizune Greaves gives you Burst 2, which is invaluable. It's very good for a Rarity 6 armor. Numinous, because it gives you 2 Agitator on your waist. On the chest, it also gives you 2 Agitator, which helps get to Agitator 5 faster. Because once you're at Agitator 5, you get another 15% affinity, which counteracts your negative affinity. It also gives you a decent attack steroid. I'm also running counterattack because at rank 4 and 5, they give you a decent stat boost. You can stop at 3 or 4, right? But ideally you try and max it out. If you can't, that's fine too. Adrenaline Rush lasts 30 seconds, which is more than enough. It can't refresh itself constantly like Counter-Strike. Once the timer starts, it has to drain completely before you can proc it again. But with Evade Extender and Evade Window, as long as you're standing in front of the monster or you're close enough to the monster, when it's attacking, just dodge the attack and you should be fine. You don't need the foresight or anything like that. If you're using longsword, you can simply roll through the attack and proc Adrenaline Rush. Sometimes that's a better option. And because this is not a crit build and I'm not using a maximum might, you should be using your dodge roll more often. And then I have the evade extender at level 3, evade window at level 2, recovery speed, that's from the armor, I believe Numinous Crown. Coalescence is from Numinous Waste, that's fine. They're kind of dead, but if you do proc it when you're using an elemental weapon, it's a little bit more damage. And for the talisman, I'm running the evasion charm. It's not maxed out, but once I start putting more ranks into it, the evade window goes up and you can replace the evasion decoration for something else. You could run pretty much anything here. It's up to you really. You can run literally anything. Just wanted to get this one out here and show off this new build. It deals a decent amount of damage. I don't believe it hits as hard as a crit focused build, but for what it does and the low requirement to set it up, just dodge one attack right and hit the monster, standard stuff, right? It deals a surprising amount of damage depending on what you're fighting. This setup is very forgiving. It doesn't deal as much damage as some other loadouts, but it does a reasonable amount of damage for the fact that it doesn't really crit at all. It's also super safe because you have evade extender and evade window. And if you're using Gunlance, you have guards, you have multiple avenues to protect yourself and survive as long as possible. You deal as much damage as possible. If you're using longsword, you benefit from evade extender and evade window because it increases the distance of your foresights and the iframes from your foresights. Just wanted to get this build out here. That's pretty much it. Have a good one.